prioritized stream, which I decided to just do randomly because I want to do a stream. So the time of year it is, I just probably just keep that window closed. But yeah, welcome to the stream. We're going to be doing some kind of organizational stuff. I really want to get onto that other shelf and start, doing things with that. Whether or not that happens is up for debate. I'm going to get myself a snack. We're going to put on some random videos in the background, just do the usual. Why did I come in here? Yeah. Right, I'm back. So the main goal of this stream is just get that back bit done. So, just to recap, we got a good bit of work done here, right? Yesterday we managed to resort, fix a lot of things, and obviously we still got that to do. That needs fixed. So it'll be like a 30-minute stream max. I don't really plan for it to go longer than that. But that's pretty much it. Obviously, the theme we're going for is like, that's maybe a Return of the Jedi shelf. And a lot of people were asking in the comments of a couple of shorts I did, what the hell this is and where can they find one. So this mat is pretty much just a mat of what's going on up there with that project. It's the Complete Saga loadout screen, or character selection screen. It's a mat, I'll lift this up so you can see better. It's a mat made by Brick Rebellion. You can find him on Instagram. I'm thinking I'm going to, I know I put a lot of the parts for things here. I'm going to move this picture. By the way, you're getting 2 lives. I'm doing one later on, right? And in that one, I'm going to be reorganizing all the video games and stuff because I'm not happy with the reorganization that I did the other day. Granted, when I did it about a week ago, it was done to be quick. So I picked up some new games. By the way, I've been playing the Jedi Starfighter one at the back very addictively the last... So, I came home last night. I didn't stream because I was addictively playing this. This game's actually quite fun. Oh yeah, if you're new here, I do retro games. I could just shove them up there, but I want to organize them a bit better than I have. So that'll be later on a stream. But we're going to try and focus on some of this back bit here. It's a mess. I mean, I have 2 Millennium Falcons standing on top of each other. That's not optimal. But 30-minute stream, because I am wanting to go out and stuff. So that's the box for the DeLorean. I'll keep, as I've not had a chance to review that yet. That is the little biplane for Lego Indiana Jones. Because it's not needing fixed, I'll just chuck it there just now. Anything that needs fixed will go on those bottom shelves, so that can go there. But yeah, short stream to get some stuff done. That is the Freako Speeder from 2010. It's just going to sit up there for now because it's got nothing wrong with it. But yeah, quick stream, trying to get some progress. That's the speeder bike from that new battle pack, so that does not need, if it needs fixed, it's staying on there. That's kind of how I'm going to work this. We got, this is one of those little cars, like kind of Jeep things from Lego Pharaoh's Quest. That's fine, so it can sit there. This is the Twilight from 2008, one of the cooler Clone Wars sets. It does need slightly fixed. I've actually ordered new parts for its front end because it is a little bit yellowed. So there's that. There's some bags here that contain parts, like all these bits go to sets that have unfortunately come apart. I'm going to fold up my chair while I do this. It's like this camping chair I bought to sit while I'm, doing video games. What else have we got up here? Another bag of parts. Another bag of parts. Again, some sets broke, so I just bagged up the pieces. Makes sense. This is the very dusty, because it sat in the corner of one of my shelves for quite a while. That's like a Starfighter from last year. That's just going to sit there. We got CC-10's Jedi Starfighter from 2012. I can just throw that this back bit here, that's fine. My most recent live build, and it's the least dusty set in the room, which is embarrassing. Anakin's Intercept from 2012. Got this. I'm going to put this somewhere safe because that has sentimental reasons. Oh, sentimental value is probably the correct term to use there. It's a cup full of screws and stuff when I was doing the remodeling. Now it's a shock trooper. That is fine. It can go there. It's a part that any minifigures I'm just going to stick on some of the sets just so they're out of the way. So I've got Ahsoka and some shock troopers inside the home one. Looks weird, but that's where they're going just now. Got Ki-Adi-Mundi to put there. Got a 2013 Scout Trooper to shelf there. But quick half an hour stream just to get some progress done on this. It's like, I don't mind doing a quick stream, just to get a little bit done. Sometimes those are my most productive ones, even though they're very short stream-wise. They're already clearing one of the shelves up quite nicely. These are these Clone Cadet minifigures from the May 4th from last year. One second. But the next thing I'm going to move isn't from the top shelf, but I want it off of here anyway. Oh god, I think this has got some structural damage. I hope not. It's... Alright, the door's just bowing out. The car's not actually damaged. Okay. Well, not the way I thought. I thought the frame had managed to bow out. This is the DeLorean from... Wow, that's a 4-year-old set now. That's crazy. Wherever I put that little thing I use for cleaning sets, that thing that I lose all the goddamn time during live streams, and you'll get to laugh at me as I look for it. Wherever I put it. I know that these parts go with the DeLorean, so I'm just going to slide them next to it. I'll just put them on the shelf for now. It's one of my older Lego boxes. It's in not the greatest condition, but I mean, set from 2002. I ain't getting rid of that. So that part there goes to UCS Falcon. This is one of the Y-Wings wings. I disconnected its wings and doing all the stuff I was doing. So most of what's up here is Clone Wars sets, you know, and then you've got odd things like this is the Battle of Endor's catapult, just there chilling. That is a pick-a-brick cup that will go on the bottom shelf. Some more figures. This is at Arc 170 from last year, so we're just going to throw that down there. So I've got some things to do today, but before I do those things that I have to do, I want to go hit one of the retro game places that I like to go to, see if they've got anything I'm after, as I like to do. Speeder bike from 2005 Turbo Tank. Let's go there for now. Big bundle of minifigures. It'll be a decently long live stream later. That's something I'm wanting to do. Right. Jabba the Hutt's tail. There we go. That's the V19 from last year as well. So the drop ship's going to stay in there, I think. I like where the drop. I can move my gunships over there as well, so that helps. Speaking of gunships, have I missed? Wait, 1 second. One's there. The other one's under the other things, okay. We'll establish something. Start clearing out multiple of these figures. We got one of my only Pirates of the Caribbean sets. I thought this is a pretty cool set. The Isla de Merta, I think is how you say that one. All these Jedi figures out of here. Right, there we go. I have ruined the shelf basically that we got so far with yesterday, but that was kind of a necessary thing the way this is going. Give or take, that's all the that's all those figures that were on that shelf. So as you can see, it's now just consisting of some sets. So any Clone Wars sets that are good to go can stay on that shelf, but ones like I need to fix the Malevolent, so it gets to join the sets on here. So, for example, we've got the 2009 Pirate tank here. Apart from the fact that it needs a violent dusting, it's fine. So I'm just going to shove that up the back here. What else have we got? We've got General Grievous Starfighter from 2010. It does need some parts, actually. Yeah, it needs a few, and I'm looking at it more closely. As does the Night Speeder. Tell you what doesn't need parts though. 2012 Geonosis cannon. Things ready to go up there. Got the plane from Lego Pharaoh's Quest. You know what, actually? I'm going to go back to hanging the planes from the ceiling the way that I did. Someone's going to look at this and go, how the hell does that work? I've no goddamn idea, but I do it with this one as well. You know, when Wrecker apparently doesn't want to fall out of it. Planes. Alright, what else have we got here? Cad Bane's Speeder from 2010 is fine, so it's going up in the section where all the Colt or sets that don't need rebuilt are going. Also got that, it's an Old Republic thing. Speeder, it need from the battle pack, it needs fixed. Grievous's General Grievous's little chair here from the Starfighter, that's fine. That's a sticker sheet that I've kept around for a review I'm planning to make.
The birth of PlayStation did not go according to plan. Nintendo's betrayal and Sony's revenge led to the original PlayStation winning the console wars of the 1990s, selling 100 million consoles. That's more than double the units of all its competitors like the N64, Saturn, and Jaguar combined. But
this is a box or bag of parts and minifigures that I separated out.
The PlayStation 2. By the end of the PlayStation 1 life cycle, no game console manufacturer had been able to dominate 2 generations back to back. Sure, the Super Nintendo was certainly a successful follow-up to the NES, but it fought a long, hard battle against the Sega Genesis that it only barely came out on top of. That's nearly 30 years of
this needs fixed. It's that is that cannon for the Battle for Geonosis?
There was no guarantee that someone else wouldn't snatch the gaming crown right back around this time. In a way, Sony was kind of lucky. Ken Kutaragi, the father of the PlayStation, had so much passion that he basically forced Sony into the gaming industry. There was an enormous amount of skepticism inside Sony about the gaming project, but with year after year of climbing sales, no one could deny their success. So, with cautious optimism, Sony committed to a second-generation console. This time, though, there was a lot more to lose. When Sony launched the PS1, they didn't know it would be a big hit. Good old Ken Kutaragi had complete confidence, so naturally he had already started working on the PS2 immediately after the original PlayStation launched, and before, importantly, Sony had even greenlit the second generation. I swear, this guy was just trying to get fired. The development timeline in the early days...
ATRT Walker from 2013.
...reported working on a potential graphics chip for the PS2 as early as 1997. It quickly became clear, though, that those were either to confuse competitors or likely as backup options, because Sony is working on something revolutionary in-house. With the help of Toshiba, Sony developed the now legendary Emotion Engine CPU.
So we've got Commander Cody and an OG R2-D2.
Integrated several specialized units to maximize performance for the demands that are more specific to gaming. This included a streamlined CPU core to handle general processing, 2 2 vector processing units for complex graphics calculations, a dedicated image processing unit, and more. This hybrid approach, in a lot of ways, actually foreshadowed the trends that we see today in processor design, where when you buy a CPU, what you're actually getting is something which is made up of a bunch of specialized components that work together on a single chip to maximize efficiency. Compare
2010 Turbo Tank.
Simpler, less
Good to go.
power, but easier to get good results quickly. The PS2 might not have been as straightforward to work with as something like the Nintendo GameCube, or have the brute force of the Xbox with its PC-based processor. But for a developer who knew how to optimize around the Emotion Engine, the PS2 had a ton of potential. The PlayStation 2's graphics synthesizer was also a huge step forward for console graphics. In particular, the leap from the PS1's graphics was astronomical. The original PlayStation could only manage a theoretical 360,000 polygons per second, while the PS2...
The Y wing that needs its wings put back on to be a Y.
Billion. Just pause for a second and take that in. These days, if you get 2, maybe 3 times more performance across the generation, it's considered a solid grade. The PS2 could handle 207 times more polygons. This translated to far more complex environments, smoother character models, and intricate details that really brought games to life. In my opinion, it is the biggest leap in graphics for a single generation of all time, and almost certainly will never be matched again. But perhaps the biggest galaxy-brained move Sony made was including a DVD-ROM drive. Remember, Sony was, and still kind of is, a consumer tech company first and foremost. As a company making cameras, TVs, and physical media, they knew that consumers were right at the start of a major shift from analog media like VHS tapes to digital DVDs. With PS2 games living on DVD, there was suddenly way more space than CDs, between 6 and 12 times as much. No more 3-disc Final Fantasy games. Now, this might sound silly today, when physical media is kind of on its deathbed, but I know a ton of people who sold their parents on the PS2, not just as a game console, but as a media center for the whole family. Now, to really drive sales, Sony priced the PS2 at $299 at launch, the exact same price as the original PlayStation back in 1995, but importantly, significantly less expensive than most standard.
Do need to put some work. This is my This is my gun shit with the custom stickers.
It really was an easy sell. Speaking of launch, the PS2 finally was released in the year 2000. Let's just say it wasn't the smoothest launch. It was a roller coaster of equal parts hype and frustration, with massive console shortages pretty much.
So stay alive for another 8 minutes.
Sony was selling each PS2 at a loss, a gamble that they make money on game sales later on down the line. Now, this strategy is really the norm now, but back in 2000, it's easy to forget that Sony was a relative newcomer in the console wars and honestly had no idea how many people were really ready to upgrade their PS1s. Sony just weren't prepared for the demand they'd created. And it got so bad that you could get a PS2 on eBay for more than double retail price. Some of them were priced as high as $1,000. And this is in 2000. The launch games were also pretty disappointing. Now, leading up to launch, Sony teased a lot of high-end titles, like Metal Gear Solid 2, Gran Turismo 2000, and a beautifully remastered Final Fantasy VII. What gamers got instead were 29 fine but not exciting games like Madden NFL 2001 and Dynasty Warriors 2. It didn't really matter, though. The PS2 sold like absolute hotcakes. Sony sold all 1 million manufactured units in the launch weekend alone. A lot of this was thanks to another smart decision by Sony: backwards compatibility.
Right.
Again, this is something we pretty much take.
Alien Conquest UFO.
Super up in arms when a new console doesn't have a generation or even several generations of perfect back compat. With the PS2, though, Sony cleverly reused the original PS1 CPU to handle I/O tasks, such as the USB ports in normal PS2 mode, but as soon as you dropped an OG PlayStation disc in, the hardware sprang into action. Now, it did need a little bit of emulation for some certain features of the PS1, such as the audio chip, but thanks to the massive leap in power on tap, PlayStation 1 games pretty much universally just worked. After the PS2's global launch, it only gained more steam. Sony quickly ramped up production to try and meet the massive demand, but shortages continued throughout the first year. This was coupled with a big marketing campaign that did a lot to cement the PS2 as the must-have gaming device. As highlighted, its graphics power, PS1 game library, the added bonus of being a DVD player. Boy, there were some, if I want to call it gems, but some this is a commercial. combination of hype, features, and slowly increasing availability fueled a frenzy that propelled the PS2 to console market dominance by the end of its first year. But the first big test came in 2001, when the real competition arrived. Now, before we get to the console war, we've got to press F to pay respects for Sega. As much as I love the Dreamcast, it just couldn't keep up with the competition. Not only did Sony thoroughly have the momentum over Sega, but even though the Dreamcast had a one-year head start, the PS2's spectacular launch, paired with EA's decision to not develop for the Dreamcast, basically forced it into early retirement, and it was discontinued in 2001. Rest in peace, little guy. Enjoy your VMUs and the cold, watery grave wherever that dolphin lives. Fish guy. What was the fish guy name? Y'all never seen that?
I may not look so hot to you, but you should see yourselves through my eyes. You don't know me, but you will.
With one competitor down, Sony
Right, we're getting somewhere with this.
Relaxing. 2001 was when Nintendo's GameCube and Microsoft's Xbox launched, marking one of the biggest generational rivalries in gaming history. On paper, it seemed like Sony was in trouble. Remember, this was Nintendo's big chance to get back at Sony for crushing the N64 in the last generation, and they went hard. In some ways, the GameCube was more powerful and easy to work with than the PS2. And importantly, it cost $100 less. Then you had the Xbox, built from straight-up PC parts like an Intel Pentium CPU and NVIDIA GeForce graphics, making it, on paper, by far the most powerful gaming console in this generation. I mean, just look at this comparison. It took a few years for developers to really get the most out of the Emotion Engine and graphics synthesizer, where Nintendo and Microsoft offered consoles that devs were able to get solid performance out of pretty much on day one. And so it was a fierce battle.
I finally feel like I'm progressing with all of this.
PS2's production run, Sony consistently had more than 50% of the market share. The Xbox and GameCube would fight and often trade blows, but ultimately they were fighting for a distant second place. So where did they go wrong? Well, Nintendo hit multiple roadblocks. A lot of popular third.
So in a couple of minutes, I will be ending the stream because I want to charge my phone before I go out. So there's that.
These days, but this was back when Nintendo absolutely wanted cross-platform titles, just like the other consoles. The failure to attract a lot of them directly led Nintendo to pretty much give up fighting the console war on even footing and started making weird stuff like the Wii and the Wii U, but that's a story for later. Probably the biggest reason the GameCube fell behind was the lack of DVD functionality. After the failure of the Sony partnership with Nintendo to develop a CD-based add-on for the Super Nintendo, they spent the entire N64 generation backing cartridges, which left them with essentially no experience with discs. When Nintendo finally decided to switch to the disc format, they opted for the tiny mini optical discs that you see with the GameCube. The public reason why Nintendo did this was because these smaller discs could load data faster than traditional DVDs, which in some cases it did. But the real reason was almost certainly because they were, and still are, terrified of piracy. It's pretty well documented that Nintendo hates piracy. Emulators and other legal things. Sorry, something's in my throat. But it's clear that Nintendo have done a lot of things to prevent piracy, even if it makes the gaming experience worse for those of you who buy the games legally. Aside from Nintendo, the big new rival that no one saw coming was the Microsoft Xbox. The first American game console since all the way back in 1993 with the Atari Jaguar, Xbox's launch was actually quite successful, all things considered. Selling 1.5 million units in its first year, the Xbox was born as a way to leverage Windows, build an ecosystem, and to prevent Sony from decimating the gaming PC market. When you think of it that way,
Got a bag of things that I will need to fix.
It was actually quite PC-like. The Xbox could even play DVDs, kind of like the PS2, although you did need a remote and a dongle just to enable playback. Like a PC, the Xbox offered features that were a major step forward compared to console rivals. Forget having to fumble with tiny memory cards. The Xbox boasted a built-in hard drive, which offered tons of storage for not only saving games, but even downloading content.
Up
But the
there.
Xbox had two major issues. Firstly, it was a financial black hole. Even with strong game sales, Microsoft was losing a significant amount of money on each console sold. Estimates suggest that they may have been losing at least $100 per unit. To make matters worse, just to stay competitive with the PS2 and GameCube, they were forced to slash the Xbox's price just 6% after launch. Secondly, the console never gained traction in crucial markets like Japan, where Xbox sold less than 500,000 consoles throughout its entire lifespan. Yikes. The controller was also a problem, but that's for another video. Now, I want to make it clear, these were not bad consoles. Both the GameCube and Xbox are looked back on fondly by most gamers. But the thing is, the biggest problem with both the GameCube and Xbox was a really simple one. They just weren't PS2s.
So we're gonna end up. We're gonna end the stream up in a moment.
Wait,
But I am doing another stream later tonight. So there's that. But I want to thank everyone for watching. I'll show you the progress I made. So there's all that stuff there that needs sorting, but I managed to clear this. Yes, this is more cluttered, but it's organized clutter. I now understand the situation better. So I'll see you guys later on. Check the community tab for times.